3 Disturbing True Stalker Horror Stories. I've always been the type of person who notices little details. The sort of things most people brush off as nothing. The faint creak of a stair when no one else is home, a draft from a window that should be shut tight, or the way shadows sometimes seem to linger a bit longer than they should. Maybe that's why what happened to me still haunts me. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been circling my life for longer than I wanted to admit. It started off so small that I told myself I was overreacting. I had just moved into this new apartment, a quiet little unit tucked in the corner of a 3-story building. The place wasn't fancy, but it had charm: wooden floors that groaned under your feet, thin walls that sometimes carried voices from the neighbors, and a view of the parking lot out back. At first, it felt like home. I liked hearing the muffled sound of TVs through the walls at night because it reminded me I wasn't completely alone. But there were small things I couldn't ignore. A couple of times, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and swear I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my door. Slow, careful steps, like someone was deliberately trying not to be heard. I'd sit up, heart pounding, and strain to listen. But when I opened the door, the hall was empty. I told myself it was probably one of the neighbors coming home late. But there was something about the rhythm of those footsteps that didn't feel casual, it felt deliberate. Then there was the window. My living room had this big sliding glass door that led to a tiny balcony. I'd usually keep the blinds closed, but sometimes I'd forget. One night, while watching TV, I got this weird prickling feeling, like I was being watched. I glanced up, and for a split second, I swore I saw the blinds shift. Not like a breeze, but like someone's fingers had nudged them. I froze. My mind scrambled for explanations. A draft, maybe, but there wasn't one. I finally got up and yanked the blinds shut, and I left them closed after that. Still, the sense of being watched didn't go away. Walking home from work one evening, I felt it again. My street wasn't busy. Just a couple of street lamps flickering orange against the pavement. As I turned the corner, I heard the sound of footsteps behind me. Not too close, not too far, just a broken bar trailing. Every time I sped up, they sped up. Every time I slowed down, they did too. I finally turned around, but the street was empty. I told myself it was in my head, but the unease crept into my daily life. When I left for work in the mornings, I sometimes noticed little things by my door, like a single coin, a bottle cap, or a folded piece of paper with nothing written on it. It was too strange to ignore, but I brushed it off, thinking maybe a neighbor dropped them. Still, each morning, something new would appear. The worst was the phone calls. At first, they were just hang-ups and my phone would buzz. I'd answer, and there'd be silence. Then came the whispers. Not words, exactly, just low, drawn-out sounds, almost like someone breathing into the line. It happened late at night, usually after midnight, when I was half asleep. One time, I said hello and thought I heard my own name whispered back to me. That's when I stopped answering unknown numbers altogether. Things started going missing too. Nothing huge, just small items I used daily. A pair of keys I swore I'd left on the counter. A mug I always used for coffee, even one of my shoes. I'd tear the apartment apart looking for them, only to find them later in the oddest places, like the shoe inside my closet under a pile of clothes, or the mug in the freezer. I lived alone. No one else had a key, but I kept trying to convince myself I was paranoid. After all, I worked long hours, sometimes came home exhausted. Maybe I was misplacing things. Maybe the calls were just prank dialers. Maybe the noises were just numbers. That's what I told myself, until the night everything changed. Like, subscribe if you want me to keep sharing what really happened, because this is where things stopped feeling like paranoia and became something I couldn't deny anymore. It was a little after 2 a.m. when I woke up to the sound of tapping. At first, I thought it was part of a dream, but when I opened my eyes, I realized it was real. A slow, steady tapping against the glass of my balcony door. I froze in bed, barely breathing. My blinds were shut, but I could see the faintest shadow shift against them, like someone was standing right outside. I wanted to believe it was a branch, maybe blown by the wind, but there weren't any trees close enough. The tapping continued, deliberate, like knuckles rapping on the glass. Summoning what courage I had, I crept over and pulled the blinds open a crack. There was a man standing on my balcony. He was tall, his face hidden in the shadows, but I could see his hand pressed flat against the glass, his head tilted just slightly like he was trying to look inside. I stumbled back so fast I nearly tripped over the coffee table. My phone was on the couch, and I grabbed it, dialing 911 with shaking hands. But when I looked back, the balcony was empty. The police came, checked the balcony, the hallway, the whole building. Nothing. No sign of forced entry, no footprints, nothing. They told me it was probably a prank, maybe some drunk guy who wandered up and left before they arrived. But my apartment was on the second floor. To get to my balcony, you'd have to climb. That wasn't an accident. After that, I couldn't sleep. Every creak, every groan of the building set me on edge. And it wasn't long before the notes started appearing. At first, they were just scraps of paper slipped under my door, blank, always blank. Then one night, I found one on my kitchen counter. That chilled me to the bone, because I had locked my door, double-checked it, even. And yet, someone had been inside. The notes escalated. One morning, I woke up to find a piece of paper taped to my bathroom mirror. Written in neat, blocky letters was a single word: soon. That was the breaking point. I packed a bag and stayed at a friend's place for a week. For a while, nothing happened. I almost convinced myself it was over. But when I finally went back to the apartment, there was one last note waiting for me, sitting dead center on my bed. It just said, "I missed you." I moved out the next day. I never went back. Even now, years later, I still catch myself looking over my shoulder at night, checking the blinds twice, triple locking the door. Because the truth is, I never found out who he was or how long he had been watching me before I noticed. Like, subscribe if you want to hear the other stories, because this was only one of the 3 times I realized just how close someone can get without you ever